Redevelopment Association, and we just used a little technique that we with one of our projects, one of our first projects to build after the Valley Fire. As you can imagine, we have crowds that we're working with, and rather than yelling and whistling, that was a good way to take care of things. So I would like to just have Melanie Garrett, from my co-host from the American Red Cross, step up, and I'm going to see what our final arrangement for the projector is.
Thanks, Magdalena. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. This may seem like a hastily formed meeting to some, but for others, this has been a work in process. And it grew a little bit today to accommodate some of my special guests that I get to meet actually for the first time, which is Mark Smith, who is the Executive Director of the American Red Cross from the national headquarters in Washington, D.C. So he's here today to join with us to see what progress we have been diligently working towards here in South Lake County after the Valley Fire. I also have the Santa Rosa Executive Director for the Northern California Coastal Region, Jeff Baumgartner. Yes. And Mike Conroy, who is our Regional Disaster Program Officer, Regional Disaster Officer for the National, for the Northern California Coastal Region. He will be here shortly. He is actually bringing the backup projector because we weren't sure about the technical connections that we would have available here. So we are running a little bit behind on our projection, but that's just, you know, a normal occurrence in the day of disaster recovery.
Flexibility, right?
Yes, totally. So I'd like everyone just to, as your time allows, to just relax and just enjoy being with us today as friends and as co-workers in this massive project that we all face here in Lake County. I would like to introduce Roy McCarthy, who is the new local disaster program manager, I believe, for the Red Cross here in Lake and Mendocino counties. So he's just come on board, I believe this week is his first official week.
Yeah.
Very happy to meet him. He is a local resident. I believe he was born and raised here in Lake County.
Raised. Born in Palo Alto, but lived here most of my life.
Okay, great. And I thank him for taking the time to be here today as well. I would like to also welcome Sally Way, who comes from the Zhu Xi Foundation in Santa Rosa. She has worked very closely with me during some of our recovery efforts in the past year after the fire to offer community meals and any other assistance that the Zhu Xi Foundation, sees that they are able to provide. Angela Burke is right here with Habitat for Humanity. All of us have been working or have come together through the Team Lake County long-term recovery group that was formed back in October of 2015. So many of us represent the available resources that were here after the initial phase of relief came through. And we continue to work together. We look to see what's going on in Lake County with resources that are still available or no longer available or will be available at some point after the new budget year possibly. So for us to face our second year, we're almost through our second year, and we really want to sort of regroup and just really take a look at what we can continue to do on behalf of Valley Fire survivors. We find through the work with Seigler Springs community, with SSCRA's case manager, Indigo Perry. She is new to our team of case management support. And the Red Cross actually helped to provide a grant. It was a competitive grant, and Seigler Springs was awarded the grant. They've been working on the mountain of Cobb with all the community since 2015, and they were doing spontaneous case management recovery for their community members, and now they've been able to formalize that. They actually have a full-time staff member. She's been an incredible asset to work with in this situation, because we continue to meet and provide assistance to survivors who are just now stepping up out of the woods, literally out of the woods, living in tents, maybe not on the mountain. They could be living in a tent in Santa Rosa somewhere. It's still a challenging situation for many. Not everyone in this fire, you know, we really work hard at squashing prejudice and judgment, you know, when we meet people for the first time or we look at their situations, because in our culture we have become a little conditioned. You know, I like to think I'm a wonderful hearted person, but I have found that the way that I was raised back in the South is I have a little hidden prejudice sometimes that's part of my filter of maybe even my response mechanism to people because of bad experiences I've had in the past. So my work here has been an incredible work in process to change me internally as much as what I can do to help others externally. So the fact that you're all here today speaks to the fact that we're all in this boat together to express our purposes for being here. So I appreciate you allowing me this time to just sort of spill this out. I'm a little traumatized myself from the experience of dealing with this for almost 16 months nonstop. Many of you also do that in your line of work and with the agencies that you represent. So together, my goal today is that we can just take a moment to relax and breathe and say, wow, what a journey it's been. Now what do we do next, you know, to keep going and to recharge our batteries. Seigler Springs has been working very closely with me in the past 3 to 4 months to figure out how we continue to communicate out into the world around us, into our area. It's no longer just communicating within Lake County. We're having to expand our communication reach into other counties to make sure that, well, not just to other counties, but other states, actually. You know, to try to make sure that if these people want to come back to Lake County, we want to give them that opportunity to make that decision. Some of them have family here, have lived here their entire lives. I heard a story last night while I was in Loch Lomond at the Roadhouse, and the bartender there was talking about a family member who had lived there their entire life, had a home there, it burned, ran into issues with the permitting to rebuild on the same footprint, and just said, you know what, we're off to Arizona. Bought 2 more properties in Arizona, and they don't know what they want to do. But I've got this family member saying, how, you know, it's just blowing my mind that they were able to just walk away, and we're hoping that they'll come back. So these are just a sampling of the stories that we hear, and we really want to take a very focused look with the agencies that you represent to see, okay, what can we do to not only support those efforts in our disaster case management piece, but what can we do internally for Lake County to help rebuild our communities so that people can come back or new people can come and join us. And we have Mick Hutchinson here today with the Red Bud Healthcare District Project Restoration.
Yeah. project restoration.
Yes, so I believe if I can briefly, and you can correct me because I'm still learning all the things that a lot of people around Lake County are attempting to do. This is the other reason why we're here is let's just pull everyone together with their little projects to see, do we have common goals and do we share, you know, a mission that we can support one another at some level to really provide the mechanism to drive these projects forward as simultaneously as possible, because we all, Lake County has its own challenges prior to these fires and floods. And so now's the time, let's just get on the boat together, or get our boats together, and let's go forward. So Mick, I met him May 3rd at the Innovation Summit that was co-hosted or hosted by the Clear Lake Adventist Community Development Group, or Community Recovery Group, and the Red Bud Healthcare District, I believe, has provided maybe a $300,000 grant to look at some of the issues that exist specifically in Clear Lake. So that's a separate project, but Mick's interest and his relationship with this project restoration, I believe, is sheltering. So it's my understanding he's looking for sheltering, creating sheltering opportunities, not just in Clear Lake, but maybe other parts of Lake County. So that's the introduction between Mick and Seigler Springs with their co-housing project, which they have here on the table. We also have some slides with real faces and statistics. So thank you for your patience. While we are still pulling this thing together, I would like to give Mark Smith an opportunity to say a few words.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First and foremost, I was here in October 2 years ago, and you know, in my role as executive director for recovery operations, I travel around the country for to respond to the Red Cross major disasters. And folks know the Red Cross from the response side, that, you know, from day one through usually 30, 60, maybe 90 days, we're engaged in sort of what we call the mass care. There's a whole lot of Red Cross jargon. I think I'll stand up here. Yeah, go ahead. Crook your neck at me. And we provide a lot of, you know, whether it's sheltering, feeding, the basic essentials. But following that, we transition to recovery activities. And that's when we're able to be engaged in communities like this for more long-term and sustainable activities. And the joy I get out of my job is the ability to say, okay, we have helped folks who were on the precipice, right? We're on the edge of falling into a really desperate situation. We've lost everything. What's next? We were able to stabilize the situation, and now we're able to help folks move forward. And I've spent a lot of time talking to Melanie, if not every month, usually twice a month, and really get a perspective on what's going on here. The engagement from the Red Cross with the local community, local partners, and really, and I think you can hear it when she talks about it, her passion and commitment. And that, in my role, comes to me to say, what else can we do? Why are we here? What else can we do to support more? And I'm really eager today to listen to how we can continue to collaborate, how we can continue to work together from the American Red Cross. I mean, Jeff is here from representing our local community. I, of course, sit back in Washington, D.C., but am eager to make sure that as the Red Cross, what we do, we move from disaster to disaster, that our folks don't forget what's still ongoing here and the needs that are here. So I look forward to continue working with Melanie and all of you, and of course Jeff, to make sure that the Red Cross from a national perspective remains engaged. As I said, you know, I was here in October and stayed, you know, right at Twin Pines. I had a cot there, and I was there for about a month. And spent time up, a lot of time up on the Mount Cobb, and one thing that always will stick with me about my time here is how resilient this community is. You know, work all over the country, and we provide assistance all over the country. Many places I go to, it's a matter of how much more can the Red Cross provide. Here, there was, folks were saying, yep, we've lost everything, but I think I'm gonna be okay. You really need to help my neighbor. I'm not sure about my neighbor and their ability to bounce back. And you know, up there on Cobb, I remember saying to folks, but there's nothing here but a chimney. Well, we'll just rebuild. We'll figure out a way to keep moving forward. Is there anything we, you know, my question, is there anything else we can do? How can we help more? No. Go check down the street. I'll be fine. You know, my family's well, my wife, my daughter, we're okay. We'll figure it out. So that will always stick with me, and I encourage you guys as you work together to make sure that, if I can say this, and I don't want to be too presumptuous, that folks aren't suffering in silence. Because there's a sense of, oh, we have this, but if you're still in the tent, maybe there's some way we can all pool our resources to help folks. Because 18 months down the road, I don't know if folks should still be living in a tent, to be honest, to be blunt about it. So I'm eager to listen and spend the day with you guys today and to come up with some creative solutions. So, thank you. I don't know, Melanie, you want me to turn it back to you?
We have display on the screen,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're actually,
I was in everybody's way then.
it was just perfect. So, there we go. This is great. Thank you. In the other room. So, just to sort of get everyone on the same page of information of how several of our agencies have been working here. This is just Red Cross assistance, a summary that's been provided since January of 2016. So from 2016 until May of this year, we've had we began this recovery with a gift of $390,000. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but definitely not less. Pardon me, it's actually more. From January to December of last year, through the help of the Team Lake County case managers and Catholic Charities case manager, we were able to do a distribution of approximately $220,000. The number of households that we were able to touch between October and December of last year, I personally sat with over 200 people. I cannot believe I physically was able to do that. It was an incredible experience watching these people melt down as soon as they walk through the door to get to the table. I have seen grown men old enough to be my grandfather crying at the table. It just really underscored the level of stress that these people have carried with them for so long, that just to get a client assistance card and an insufficient amount, I'm sure, for their personal needs. They were just incredibly grateful, and it was a humbling experience as to the choices that I actually am able to make for my life. The additional assistance that we were able to provide specifically to the Cobb area community, we were able to provide an additional $14,950 to the Little Red Schoolhouse Community Center that was used as the Recovery Operations Center from October 2015 through September of last year, 2016. And that building went through a lot of natural abuse just from the traffic through that area. And they continue to need some assistance, and we are still looking at ways that maybe we can continue to partner with them in the process. So the criteria that we use with the Red Cross to provide this type of assistance is we look at those who were uninsured. We specifically look for those who may be elderly, have disabilities, have social challenges, any other, maybe a lack of capacity to self-advocate for themselves. We really look at that population first because we have a large number of individuals that we don't have enough financial resources, so we try to target that most vulnerable population first. After we feel, or at least the data may suggest that we've touched everyone that we can in that particular category, we're able to look at those in the underinsured, who simply had a home that grandpa built back in 1884 and it was never insured, or it was insured for $30,000 and it was a 4,000 square foot home and now it's going to cost $500,000. That's, or the Rocky and the Jerusalem fire hit, people who were properly prepared and were insured, had their properties insured, and then had their insurance company cancel their policy before the Valley Fire. Those are other extenuating circumstances that we take into consideration as well. So you can go on to the next slide if you like. A few other things that we were able to do with the Red Cross resources that were set aside for this area is there was a grant opportunity of about $57,000 that we were able to award to Seigler Springs so that they could provide case management services. We continue to provide resource coordination with Team Lake County. We work very closely with the Cobb Mountain Lions Club. Thank you, Mike. We work with the Cobb Area Council as they may need support from us. They are really off and running without us, but I look for opportunities to support and advocate for the Cobb Area Council, which is the new municipal voice up in Cobb. And their focus is to look at the Cobb area, both socially and economically, to see what else can be done to prepare a plan to present to the County Board of Supervisors. So we continue to look for ways to network together and to bring in other resources to help these other independent organizations who are advocating for their own communities. The Red Cross also set up the Coordinated Assistance Network, which is a database that we're able to track and monitor all the cases that I will allow Magdalena to show some of the capabilities of that. Let's see. We've partnered with Hope City whenever they came up and started with some of their construction process. We've helped provide things as simple as cots for their volunteers. When they got here, there's no place to house them. There's no place to, it's just the ground. So, we've looked for ways to help support all of these other agencies that are here as well. So, with that, this is just a brief snapshot of how the Red Cross has been able to identify who we've been assisting. So we were able, and these are just general numbers, they're not audited. We've distributed approximately, as I said, $220,000. We have provided assistance to approximately 240 families. We were able to separate out the age range of some of them. So we have provided assistance to individuals from the ages of 19 to 90. And you can see over here our percentages where we actually do a triage to a tier of 1 through 4, with 4 being the most vulnerable population. So the purpose of these numbers and this breakdown is to look at how effective are we with the resources that we have? Is it going in the direction that we really want it to go? And if not, what do we need to do to readjust our process, our case management process, to sort of shift these numbers a little bit more? So as you can see, we've got approximately 61% of the recovery funds went to those between the ages of 19 and 54. And then we look at the age range from 65 to 90 and we see 18%. So we would actually like to see that 18% to be a little bit higher. So one of the things that we would like to do today is, again, look at resources that remain available, whether through NCO or other organizations that we may not even be aware of that have sprung up, just like Seigler Springs stepped up in October 2015. There may be other resources that we're not familiar with. And then, on behalf of the Red Cross, we would like to partner with these agencies to talk about what can we do to rearrange or to restructure our communication process to the survivors to make sure that those who are in that target tier 4 triage actually are aware. Many of these individuals may not be connected to the internet on a regular basis. A lot of the communication still is on a piece of paper, a flyer, at the post office, in Cobb, at the coffee shop, in Hidden Valley, up in Lakeport. It's, you know, we're using Facebook, social media. There are so many Facebook pages out there. We have Lake County ODS. We have the ham radio operators Facebook. So someone, sometimes it's me, I just have a list of pages that I'm constantly looking to see what's happening, who's doing what, how do we communicate, can I share this message, how effective is that message going to be, will people read it, see it, etc.
So Melanie, you're saying that tier 4 is everybody from age 65 to 90?
That's the typical age range for the most vulnerable population. However, at the Innovation Summit that I attended back in early May, I discovered that the primary age range for the homeless in Lake County actually fits between the 19 and 54 range. So, you know, there's some interesting patterns that actually exist here in Lake County. And, you know, it's how do we continue, you know, what Innovation Summit did, I think, was actually bring awareness to those who were able to attend that. You know, I'm sitting there looking at that thinking, oh my gosh, you know, yeah, I know what I'm working with, and I see this, so how do we get everybody together to talk about what we're discovering here, and then how do we address that? And with that said, about how do we address it and how do we partner, after the Innovation Summit introducing the sheltering concept that they're wanting to do, I've been working on Cobb and partnering with Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Association, and they have a co-housing project that has actually been in process for well over a year now. And so I'm going to let Magdalena, we'll swap places and I'll do the slide thing if needed. I'm going to let Magdalena speak to how they've been working with disaster case management process and their ongoing housing development project. One more slide.
You need me to push buttons?
Can I have the lights up again? I'm probably going to go jumping back and forth between what's happening in Cobb and what's happening with SSCRA.
Can you speak up just a little more, Jen?
I said I'm probably going to go back and forth, jumping between Cobb and what SSCRA is doing. I just wanted to give you a special feeling for Cobb, the Cobb area, actually. When we get to the area map, it's a very unique area within Lake County. Lake County, as you know, is well, some of you may not know that Clear Lake is the largest freshwater lake completely within the borders of California. We've got Lake Tahoe, but it shares the borders with Nevada. And the Clear Lake itself was the body of water that Rachel Carson wrote about in Silent Spring. But the Cobb area itself is so unique within Lake County that I actually had to sit down and think of all the different things. And I came up with about 15 things. It includes the 4 highest peaks in the area. That's Mount Hanna at 3,978 feet. Seigler Mountain, which is where we live, 3,680 feet. Boggs Mountain and Cobb Mountain. That's the highest one at 4,722 feet. We've got 4 spectacular high-altitude vineyards. Ours is the home to the largest geothermal fields in the United States. It provides electricity to about 725,000 homes. None of them in Lake County, unfortunately. We're the home to many therapeutic springs and the communities that have since formed around them. We go back to the 1850s. So there's a huge lore of history. I personally know of folks who count back 6 generations in Cobb. Harbin Hot Springs is the oldest one, founded in 1873. It is the most well-known. It actually has an international reputation, so we've got people coming in from all over the world. Seigler Springs has the most variety of springs in one location. We've got 14 different kinds that were used by the Native Americans first for healing and then by subsequent populations afterwards. We've got the Boggs Mountain State Demonstration Forest, and we have several spiritual and retreat centers from all kinds of denominations, whether it's Buddhist, Christian, including Russian Orthodox, which I was very surprised to find. We have a monastery up there. And a hermitage sanctuary of Adidam. We have 2 9 golf courses in the mountains. And our community is made up of artists and healers, home-based businesses. We have the Cobb Elementary School. Now you have to know that this county, well, some of you already know, but this county regularly ranks down in the 56 to 58 of all of the counties in the state. So we're very proud of the Cobb Elementary School because they won a very coveted California State Award for the Governor's Challenge competition. And that came with a $100,000 award.
They also have a ranking of 9 out of 10 on school scale on Zillow.
And one last fun fact is that Highway 175, the road that this fire station is on, is the next to the last highway ridden in the classic book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Persig. So next slide.
There's an interesting thing about Cobb Mountain too. Cobb Mountain, the Mayacamas or Mayacamas, depending on how you want to pronounce it, chain is what forms the Napa Valley. It comes up through here, and Cobb Mountain is the highest peak in the chain. It's higher than Mount St. Helena, which is only 4,400.
Now, the interesting thing about this map is that here's Cobb. The Cobb Area Council, in California, what you can do, the Board of Supervisors is allowed to just basically take a pencil, draw a circle on a map and say, that's going to be the area for this municipal advisory council. right after the fire, and you'll see some of this in our presentation, the video presentation, right after the fire, a bunch of us went and created our own municipal advisory council because we needed a voice in front of the county. We're up in the mountains, hardly anybody goes there except for special events. And I will keep on going with the next slide because I'm going to just do a little demonstration here.
Can everybody hear Magdalena?
It's a little faint. You
At the
need to
back of the
speak
room?
up just a little
Even
bit.
more, the acoustics here are probably not so good.
And also for the recorder.
Oh, okay. So in March, just this past year, just this last several months, our district supervisor, Rob Brown, made sure that the environmental health director sent me this information. This is, before people can even build, they have to get their debris removed. But if you're a private owner, in other words, if it's not a commercial or a government, any kind of land, then you have to go through hoops and barrels just to get your land cleared before you can even build. So out of 1,387 lots that have to be cleared, just in Cobb, we have 577 that have to be cleared, or that were cleared. Now, this Cobb area in their map, in the map for the environmental health, it only includes Loch Lomond, Cobb itself, and Whispering Pines. Just 3 of the localities that we count as Cobb area. Can you go to the next slide?
How many areas do you actually count again in your area?
I haven't actually done a count. It's, but you'll see as we go through. This map came out of the Coordinated Assistance Network database that we have access to through the American Red Cross. It's a national disaster database that disaster agencies from all over the world can use. So what I did was I put in the word Cobb, just Cobb, not Whispering Pines, not Loch Lomond or anything, and this is the concentration we got. This is 250 cases just in Cobb alone. And that's households, so this is not counting the individuals. The thing is that the Cobb area is actually made up of several incorporated portions. In other words, actually no, it's not even, there's only 2 incorporated areas in Lake County. Lakeport, which is the capital, and Clear Lake, which is where your project is going to be. So this extends even further. I decided to put in the word Middletown. I live technically by the post office in Middletown. So would you change the slide so we can see what happens when you input Middletown? So suddenly there's this huge jump, and we're going way down in here still, because I couldn't get it all on the... This area here this is Seigler Springs. So we're going to see a little bit more about that in a little while. But you can see how everything just kind of popped up.
Do most people know how the directionality of the fire? That was the most ironic part of it. I don't mean to interrupt. You see where it says Glenbrook in this upper left-hand corner at about 10 o'clock? It started approximately there. Actually, it started across the road from my house. It was 90 degrees that day. The wind was 30 miles an hour, gusting to 50. We've had 4 years of drought. It went from Glenbrook straight down. It went down the mountain. Fire isn't supposed to go down. It's supposed to go up. It went down the mountain right along 175. It also blew the other way. It blew north, east and then it spread all the way to Hidden Valley.
It changed directions. The wind and the fire changed directions several times.
It was
We-
so hot it blew up,
Yeah.
it blew up septic systems. Concrete septic systems just blew up. They estimated 4,000 degrees.
In some of our neighborhoods, you can see these really beautiful sculptures hanging in the front yard of people's houses that are still standing. They're made of metal, and if you stop to look, they're actually melted septic tanks. That's,
Propane.
I'm sorry,
Propane.
propane tanks, sorry. Yeah. So just here with the address that says Middletown, we have 716 cases. So that's including our 250 in Cobb. We know that from the CAL FIRE data that 3,000 individuals were affected. Elliot, would you move that over then to the next slide? So if we take I couldn't get this to be transparent, but I got it to, it's to scale. So just in the Cobb area, we're already, you've lost more than everybody else that's down here. This is a large area of cases that have to be handled, and a very large geographical distance. That's the thing, is that people are having to travel far to get their help. There's only, I think, one small shopping center in the area. It has maybe a salon, a pizza place, and a supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next slide will show you that is from December 13th, 2016. And at that point, we got this from Bonnie Sharp, who's the intermediate permit technician at the planning department. We call it the community development department here. And they got 17 with that right to occupy. So that doesn't even necessarily mean that you could live in the building, because we're also finding out that folks, even when they have the right to occupy, are not necessarily actually able to get in. And that's been for various reasons. Our nonprofit, the Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Association, is working on a project to, right in here, is working on a project to build houses, to build units for 40 people. We were able to get 6 property owners, is it 6 property owners to agree on contiguous lots to allow us to build cooperatively. One of the main purposes of the Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Association is to help those who wish to build cooperatively, because we see an opportunity here. At least 2 of our neighbors have tried to create a village in the past before the fire and had to stop for various reasons. This map here, when you have a chance, will show you, has a legend that explains which lots were burned and which lots are rebuilding and which lots were safe. So you'll be able to tell something, and you'll see it also in our presentation in a bit. Can I have the next slide? While we're building, while we're organizing the people who want to build together, we have been also continuing to do disaster case management. Why? Because there's no way that our neighborhood is going to recover by itself. We didn't just lose our homes, we lost a community. So our focus in SSCRA is on how do we develop the community. It's got to go hand in hand. It's got to be the social services and the buildings, because without the social services or without the pulling together of the people, you can't even build. You can't even build. It's just that much harder. So we got our grant from the Red Cross. In 5.5 weeks, with one disaster case manager, we were able to open and close more than almost 24 cases. We found 4 people that had no idea that there was any help available. One of these ladies was elderly, blind. She had a community, she had friends, and she still didn't know, 15 months after the fire, that there was any help available and that she was also eligible. That was a big deal. Another person we found was a family of 3 children under the age of 18. They're being homeschooled. The father lost all his tools, couldn't get a job close by. They went traveling and then came back, and they're just trying to make do now. We had 3 elderly people with PTSD from 9/11, re-traumatized by the Valley Fire. 2 of them didn't know that there was help. So we've been doing a lot of outreach to get there. Okay. So with that, I'd like to play you a short video. I think it's 13 minutes?
14.
14 minutes. It's minimized, Del, so all you have to do is bring that up. And we'll explain a little bit about what we're calling the Bright Village. That's a name that it's a group of about 140 people have decided in the Seigler Springs neighborhood to create. So while you're looking to get that up, though, so here's the map. You have Seigler subdivision, Seigler Springs subdivision, it's a legal subdivision. It has 52 lots. Out of the 52 lots, 38 were burned. The only ones that were not burned are these, let's see, this doesn't show no structures. Everything that's gray either had no structures or were people that we didn't personally know. So all of the rest of this lot, all of the rest of this map shows the people who actually know each other. The green are people who have decided to rebuild. This map has changed over time as people started to say, okay, I'm going to rebuild. The areas that are orange are the people who have agreed to rebuild together. Is it ready to play? Yes?
Okay, I'm ready to roll.
Okay, roll.
I don't know if see if you have sound.
Oh, I don't know about the sound. Looks like there's sound. If not, we can do it in person. We've given this presentation a few times. So this just starts with an identification of where we are in Lake County. It says the sound is on.
Is the volume up on the sound?
Yep, the speakers are on. Oh, that's you. Hi, Elliot. You're Elliot.
You're so funny.
That's on.
Yeah, are there any speakers hooked
Are
up?
there speakers?
The speakers are on, show on the screen, but not, they're not set up.
I think you may have to do this on your own now.
Might narrate.
You'll have to narrate.
Should I narrate this?
Yeah, just catch up with it.
No subtitles?
Okay, the project is across the road from the Mountain Detention Sanctuary, which was established in 1974 as a meditation and retreat center. It's got an active program of retreats there. We actually attract people from around the country and around the world. There's usually a monthly event there. We have as many as 300 people come up who also come and contribute to the local economy. Of the 900 acres of the sanctuary, 80% of it burned. However, the core 48-acre temple and meditation center complex was saved, and actually it represents one of the last remaining historical, now that Hoburg's burned, is one of the last remaining historical resorts. But not just us, obviously, this is our neighborhood. Most of the people who were associated with the Mountain of Attention were all members of a meditation and spiritual community that was founded in the early 70s by Adi Das Samaraj. We all known each other for decades, which is one of the reasons we have at least that background to be able to cooperate and bring ourselves together to do something cooperatively. But this is, again, one of several spiritual retreat centers like this in our area, including the Vipassana Center, which is a Buddhist center about 2 miles down the road from us. I think Magdalena also mentioned the St. Gregory Retreat Center, and there's also another Buddhist retreat center down Bottle Rock Road. But again, we also recognize that we're part of a larger community. We've been active, very active, participating with our neighbors. In a way, it's been interesting. Even though the Mountain of Attention was established in the 70s, 40 years ago, we have tended to be, as groups are, tended to be a kind of an isolated group. The fire has exploded all of that. And we found ourselves to be a much more dynamic interaction with our neighbors. This is the first town meeting we had literally 2 weeks after the fire, and we've been working with...
This is at the Kelseyville Unitarian Church.
Right. We've also met at the Lower Lake Methodist Church, has also opened its doors to help us meet there. Again, to show you the relationship, this, Magdalena, I think, mentioned this subdivision she was showing you is that red dotted line, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by the Mountain of Attention. And so it's really in a very dynamic relationship to the Mountain of Attention. And that's one of the reasons why we decided we would focus on that, because we had a high concentration of people who knew each other, who were ready to cooperate, who had an active relationship that we could already draw on in order to find the kind of organizing principles for us to be able to work together. So I think this is a little closer view of the neighborhood. Again, you've already seen the larger map, but these are all, as we said, of the 52 parcels in the neighborhood altogether, 48 of them are people who are associated with the Mountain of Attention. So, and we've known each other, as I said, for all this time. This is a fairly recent aerial view of the site, showing that we basically cleared up most of the burned debris. We had 150 trees removed from within the project site there, and even outside the project site, a certain number of there have been probably 3 or 4 manufactured homes that have been sited in the neighborhood already since the fire. But the dotted lines represent additional parcels, contiguous parcels with whom we're still negotiating and kind of exploring the potential of including them in the village project. But that kind of solid line is the overall project site. This is a topographical map. We have a friend of ours who does cartography. This is actually taken from LiDAR imagery flown after the fire. So these are 2-foot contours, and you can see we've got a kind of a bowl-shaped property here, kind of sloped steeply up on one corner, but we've got a very nice kind of building area, and this is kind of the central area that we're looking to build, again, homes for about 40 people. We've got an architectural team, Gary Coates and Suzanne Siepel-Coates are professors of architecture at the University of Kansas, and actually Gary is one of the national leaders in the field of sacred architecture, how you build temple sites and he just came back, for example, from a trip to Pakistan where he was lecturing on the influence of the Muslim architecture and the Sufi architecture on their culture altogether. Helen Degenhardt's a local working architect of the firm HSWD in Oakland, who we've been having conversations about her being the lead designer. Mo Whiteside and Kate Haley are also local architects, part of our community. They lost their design studio and their home in the fire. They've relocated, at least temporarily, to Fort Bragg, but they've actually done a lot of the architectural work at the Mountain of Attention and will help us to find a kind of a local architectural style that is resonant with the land, that's resonant with the history.
And they've also been doing the architecture for local residents who are going to be building.
As well. As Magdalena mentioned, or Melanie, we're really looking to do this in this fairly becoming popular co-housing model. It combines very modest individual land with kind of more expansive collective facilities. Over 150 of these developments have been built in the United States. One of the features of that is that the residents get involved very early in the design, defining just what amenities, what kind of features, what we can afford. So this is a very kind of collaborative process. Here's one initial sketch that kind of shows you a little bit of an example of how we might configure some of the buildings on the land. We do know that we're going to have to adjust this to take account of certainly fire and water and septic issues that we're going to be dealing with. But this shows some little, this is kind of the main idea, is we have a little strip of basically apartment units. And here's a close-up of them. So you've got a 2-bedroom apartment, a couple 1-bedrooms, a studio, something we're calling a shared single, which is modest kind of individual apartments that are quarters that share a bathroom, and each of these has its own entrance and an efficiency kitchen. And a group of 7 or 8 of these will together share a common space that has a large full kitchen, laundry facilities, a gathering room. And again, this is the co-housing model that has been, it was pioneered in Europe, but again, about over the past 20 years, about 150 of them, including about 24 here in the Bay Area, of these co-housing developments. And this is a little more conceptual sketches of what some of the units would be, again, showing that they each have their own efficiency kitchen and bathroom. This is a close-up view of we talk about having a common house that would be shared by the entire community, including the extended community, could be used for community events, as well as an associated meditation hall, which is that's the kind of thing that we want to have, as well as potentially some other building. There would be a school, some kind of healing arts center to serve the community. It's a complex project. I mean, few of us, if we want to get a new home, you usually buy something that either someone else has built or a developer's built. If you're really ambitious, you may want to make your own dream home and get into, you know what kind of a challenge that can be. Actually trying to do it as a village, it's something that none of us expected to do. It's been something that we've kind of, you know, just after the fire, we just dove into it and are learning as we go. As we say, we're building the road as we travel down it. It's very complex in terms of the financial, in terms of the legal structures that we need to put in place, in terms of the actual agreements and we've got at this point we have established. Well, I'll get to the LLC in a minute, but here are some of the principles that we're using to as we develop. Yes, we had a wet winter this year, but we know. I actually spent a dozen years working for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and had something of a steeping in climate science and climate policy. And one of the effects of the climate changes that we're experiencing is going to be these kind of extreme shifts where we'll have a really wet winter and then we may have another 4 or 5 years of drought. And so we're really looking to have to take care of making sure that we build in the most fire intelligent and fire safe way, as well as being very conscious of our water use. This kind of principles of permaculture design is a principle that really takes into account the nature of the land and the geography and the climate, and also is maximally self-reliant. We want to have, again, something that's become very popular in some new developments is on-site food production. Again, to give us a kind of a level of self-reliance and self-sufficiency. We know that we want to have, since we have members of our community that are comfortable or well off, and but we do have members of our community that will certainly qualify even under the low ceiling for Lake County for affordable housing. I know the Lake County, for a couple in Lake County, it's only $33,000, $34,000 is the level for affordable housing here at 80% of area median income. We've also been very active in putting together and managing the Cobb Area Council. I'm a member of the council, and we've been really conscious of building because we know that in order for us to come back together, the entire Cobb community has to come together at the same time. And so we've been working with our neighbors to, one thing is fire preparedness and hazard mitigation. And we've been really looking with the Office of Emergency Services as well, looking to participate in the development of the hazard mitigation plan for the entire area. So this is our Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Association. We were the folks who kicked this off. This is our board of directors, myself, Magdalena, Steve, John is on our board, thank you. Denise Rushing, a former Lake County supervisor and also a former alternative energy executive with PG&E. So integrated solar energy, we basically aim to have the project be a net zero energy project, which is again, as I understand it, even the California building codes are looking to establish that within the next few years. So this is our core kind of management team for the Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Association. Steve Reed has an adjacent, he owns a 50-acre parcel adjacent to this, also a businessman who, and the south-facing slope of that completely burned. It's a perfect place for a little microgrid solar facility. So that's part of the idea. For the Bright Village itself, we've established it as a limited liability company. And all the residents there will be members of that company. As I said, we're looking to build for 40 people. We currently have 20 people who have signed in and made a modest investment that are going to help us to move this initial development process forward. There are 4 ways that people can do it. You can either own a unit, you can own a unit and live there, you can own it and rent it out. You can be a renter, and we expect it'll be about half and half owners and renters at this point. We're also looking for investors. There's a considerable, our current development budget is over $4 million to do this, and we know that we'll be, so we're offering, we have registered with the SEC to do a private offering to friends and family of LLC members. And we'll be looking, so we've got a basic investment package which is offering a 4% return on a 25-year note. And we're hoping that we can do as much of that, you know, with friends and relatives, and the rest of that we're going to have to go to the bank. This is our development timeline right now. This was a month ago, so actually we're over here by now, looking at 2 different scenarios, depending on what the planning, how long the permitting process takes. We know that the county right now is extremely challenged in terms of the permitting load. We do have a local consultant who's helping us to kind of manage that interaction. We're hoping actually to go to the county with an application for a preliminary, it's a pre-application meeting. We're hoping to do that within the next 6 to 8 weeks, based on the initial designs that we have. So I'd be happy to take any questions you have about the Bright Village development. Great. Thank you very much.
So we're only 10 minutes late. I thought it would be a good time now to bring everybody up to speed with who else is in the room, and introduce yourselves and what brings you to this gathering. I would like to start by just describing for myself. Thank you, Maurice. I started out with the Anandamari Universal Relief Team. The Anandamari Universal Relief Team was one of the original 5 co-founders, I think, with the Red Cross, for the first national VOAD, which is Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. And then I worked in Washington, D.C. with the Center for Substance Abuse Prevention, and that was during the time of Hurricane Andrew and those kinds of disasters where even the state agencies themselves, they were destroyed and still having to serve their clients. So what did, we had to give them information about what they could do under those circumstances and develop it. I've also worked with the Marin Community Foundation. They have a plan, a disaster plan, that has 5 tiers, all the way from what happens when the lights go out to what happens if California falls into the fault. What does the foundation do for its families and clients? How would it run? And then from there I went on to work in Napa and with education. Actually have a much longer education background, but all of these different experiences have helped me come back into the nonprofit world and match up with Elliot's work. And we were very happy to find John Carlisi, who is the CEO of the Neighborhood Development Collaborative and one of our board members.
The collaborative has been around since 1978 as a nonprofit. We do mostly rental housing, and our target is people making 60 to 100% of area median income. We have a financing arm and a development arm. The development arm is called Commonwealth Multifamily Housing Corporation. Right now, our board has a pilot project where we are replacing 7 houses in the area, self-financing them. We will rent them for, they're all going to be about 1,400 square feet. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We're using manufactured housing because that's what's the easiest to do and the most cost-effective. We're going to rent them for 3 to 5 years to families below the FMRs, fair market rents, and at the end of that period, we're going to sell them to the family. We are not doing a lease purchase. Lease purchase never works. It's full-time employment for lawyers. Once we get these 7 properties done, we have, actually one is going to be in Middletown, just 3 lots south of the fire station, the lot that's been cleaned. And 3 are up on Cobb, 4 are up on Cobb. We bought 2 homes at foreclosure. And one is in Clear Lake Oaks and one's in Kelseyville. Once we get those done, the board, and we'll have about 1.5 million invested. The board has said to come back and we'll do another 6 projects. We're also looking for multifamily sites to develop.
I'm Angela Burke. I'm the volunteer treasurer for Habitat. I also do family selection chair, and this is Deborah. She is the family selection coordinator, also a volunteer. And we're very happy. We just dedicated a house in, when I look at the map, the address is Middletown, but it's way out there in nowhere. But it was our first one in Middletown, and we're happy to do that. We'd love to build one in Middletown, but we haven't gotten any land. Most of our land is in Clear Lake. That's why we build in Clear Lake, and we're just starting our 26th house in Clear Lake. Now we have one from what was that fire? Not the Jerusalem fire, the other fire. The Rocky fire. We just built a manufactured house for a gentleman way out in the boonies too. He was burned out. So we're finishing up a 4-bedroom house in the avenues in Clear Lake, and we're having the dedication the first week of June. If you want to come, it's on 32nd and Boyle. And we're having our dedication then. Anyway, so Habitat is just trying to help people. Now, besides building homes, we also do repair. We have spent probably $750,000 in Clear Lake alone in repairs. And they're you have no idea how bad things are, And we do electrical, we do plumbing, we do roofs, we do a lot of things. We get a lot of volunteer work. We have a plumber who does, the normal job would be $250, he charges $50. He does a lot of pro bono. And Meadow Mill is unbelievable in giving us money, especially for vets. And there's a limit of $15,000 per house in repairs, and that goes quite a long way. We're going strong, and we're trying to help.
I'm Deborah Vaughn. I'm a volunteer working on family selection and community outreach for Habitat with Angela, and meeting a lot of families. We're very dedicated. I'm relatively new to the area and seeing a lot of challenges that our population faces. A lot of people are in need of safe, decent, and affordable housing. Population has a lot of challenges getting there, of being ready to handle the responsibilities of being homeowners, which we're all aware of, what the responsibilities it takes to get there. And so finding those people that are ready to do that is really the challenge that we're facing. So if you know somebody that's ready to do that, please send them to us. And also our Veterans Repair Program, we get calls. They're just, I think the fire has revealed a lot of people that were just right there, that need our help. So we're really working hard and trying to help those people. And it's nice to join you, being relatively new to the area and having nonprofit experience and nearly 20 years experience in public housing. It seems like I'm right back where I started. So thank you for the warm welcome.
I'm Kim Baldwin. I'm with Lake County Public Health. I'm the emergency preparedness person over the department. I prepare all the hospitals, clinics, healthcare facilities, as well as do the general public health emergency preparedness for any pandemics. And then I'm also the MRC director. And MRC is Medical Reserve Corps, so it's both medical and non-medical volunteers that help during a disaster.
I'm Dale Carnathan. I'm the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services Manager. I'm another newcomer to the area. I've been here for 13 months today.
Sorry. He knows.
Yeah. My office is responsible for disaster preparedness, planning, and response. And we are actively working right now on updating the county's emergency operations plan, which hasn't been officially approved in decades. And we're also in the process, as Elliot mentioned, of updating the county's hazard mitigation plan, which is renewed every couple of years. And that is our process for remaining eligible for disaster funding under the Stafford Act. And so that's a pretty vital piece of information for the county. Both of those, both the draft emergency operations plan and the hazard mitigation plan, are available on the sheriff's website right now. And I appreciate any comments that you might have on them. One of the other things that we've been working on is rebuilding and establishing the county's Emergency Operations Center. And I host that up at my offices adjacent to the jail up in Lakeport. And also we have recently entered into a contract for a new telenotification system that is a little more robust, easier to use, and faster than what we had previously. And one of the things I noticed as we've imported our data for that system is we only have 1,827 people who have registered their cell phones for the system. Since I know that the majority of people as we purchase our phone numbers, the numbers from AT&T and Verizon landlines are going down, and the number of cell phones are going up. I've still got 25,000 and change landline numbers. So I know I should have somewhere around 25,000 cell phones. So we are encouraging people to go to the sheriff's website and click on the code red symbol, icon, and register their cell phones. One of the things that Code Red will do for you is allow you to monitor multiple locations. So if you have a child in school, you can monitor what's going on at that school. If we send out a notification about the school, we send out a notification about your home, we send out a notification about the location where your parents are in residential care. We can do multiple sites, and you can register that on the site itself. And so I've got a flyer about that here that I can pass out.
Dale, does that include, do you have access to the Nixle registrations? So that
Yes.
includes, that 1,800 includes the local Nixle registration?
Nixle, okay, there's a little misunderstanding.
This.
Nixle is a voluntary sign-up. It's a voluntary free service that is actually owned and operated by a competitor to Code Red.
Oh.
So they cannot be combined. We do have a sign-up for Nixle icon also on our website. And I encourage people to sign up for Nixle as well. I've signed up for the Nixle.
So the fact that I'm on Nixle, you won't have my number yet?
I won't have your number because that whole database is maintained by somebody else. I need you to register your cell phones with the Code Red system so that we can make appropriate notifications. And if you have a problem, give our office a call and we'll try and walk you through the process.
Next, introduction?
Yeah. So my name is Ann Reynolds. I'm the American Red Cross Division Disaster Director for California. I actually support the Pacific Division, which is everything that touches the Pacific Ocean, so to Alaska and the islands, American Samoa, Hawaii, Guam, and Saipan. My focus is California and supporting your disaster staff that you've met here, Roy, our new addition, Mike Conroy over here, as well as a whole host of folks that are part of this region. I have a particular connection to the event that we're talking about today. Is I led the Red Cross response operations for both Valley and Butte. And I am your neighbor to the west. I live in Sebastopol, so I am a nearbuyer. So I just want to say to you, I've been on a few disaster responses in my life. I'm also an international delegate to the American Red Cross. Been to Haiti, I've been in Nepal. A lot of the big responses, everything big that's happened in the U.S. In the 17 years I've been with the Red Cross, and 23 years in the military. All of that to say, this was one of the most difficult responses I've ever experienced in my life. And I still have an emotional response to that. The fear for life, and trying to take care of our people here, to take care of you, incredibly challenging. So, sorry, I didn't even know this was sitting there. So as Mark said, I'm really committed to and dedicated to how do we continue this process and how do we continue to help people? How do we help people with the mental health issues that they may not realize still sit? And how do we do that as a community? And how do we prepare ourselves for the next time? Because something else is going to happen, right? And so how do we let down the walls of fear, the things that we don't want, we are afraid to share because we don't want to share our own, shoot, we really screwed that up, or we could have done that differently. How do we get past that to how are we going to care for ourselves better going forward, right? And there's so many experiences from across the country, across the world, that we can bring, right? The best practices, the things that we can do, and leverage ourselves as a community to do this, better and better every time. So I hope that that we'll be able to take down any walls that do exist, any fear of communication and sharing, and really get to, look, we're all trying to get to the same thing, and that's about taking care of this community and taking care of the people with the resources that we bring to the table. So, Mike, I won't say I'm sorry at all for that. I appreciate the space to share that with you, and I really look forward to supporting this team that's worked so tirelessly in working in recovery operations.
I'm Roy McCarthy, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been working with Kim over at Public Health in emergency preparedness. And I just this week transitioned into my new role with the American Red Cross. I know a lot of people from around the county, but I've been able to quickly meet a lot of my peers with Red Cross these last few days. One thing that really excites me is this morning, sitting down at breakfast with Mark, where I met him for the first time today, and he asked me, the Red Cross has been helping drive this recovery effort here in Lake County, but the first thing he asked me is, what aren't we doing? What more can we do here as we move forward? And so one of the big things I'm going to be doing is reaching out to our partners here in the community and the community itself to see what other needs there are locally that aren't being met and what else we can do moving forward to help with this recovery effort. This is a new position for Lake County and Mendocino. Red Cross didn't have a localized presence here in Lake County until they created this specific position. So they want to be more localized up here. We're going to be trying to build our volunteer base here in Lake and Mendocino counties for our DAT teams. Those are our disaster action teams that actually work on more of a day-to-day basis than just for these big disasters. The DAT teams go out for like single home fires or apartment fires and things like that. So I'm going to be tasked with helping build the base of those volunteer organizations as well. We're looking for a brick and mortar building here, preferably in Lakeport, because I live in Clear Lake and I'll be covering Mendocino County as well. So if anybody has any ideas, we're open to suggestions. But yeah, we want to set down roots here in the county. So we're looking for some office space to lease out. I'll also be working on our home fire program, which is a program the Red Cross does where they'll go into a small community, whether it's a subdivision or a trailer park, and install fire alarms for free and give preparedness advice to the community. So that's another thing that I'll be helping drive here locally, along with our pillowcase program, where we'll be going into schools and giving presentations to the children about emergency preparedness, where we'll offer them pillowcases and tell them the things that should be in their pillowcase for their preparedness at home, and then give them a little homework where they can go home and tell mom and dad, what they need to be prepared. So these are all programs that we're going to be hoping to work with the community in bringing. I'll be looking to reach out to the schools in the area to partner on the pillowcase programs, and then the different communities for the home fire program as well. So I'm really excited with things we have going forward here.
How many square feet are you looking for?
Well, right now I'm in a closet, so
More than a closet, right?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Or New York City one-bedroom apartment.
There's an empty building right next to Lake Family Resource Center on Bevan Street.
Okay.
It was occupied by the FEMA people when they had the field office here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that that strip mall where North Coast?
Yeah, they're paying money for
Yeah,
that.
but it's on the other building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right next to the Lake Family Resource
Yeah.
Center where the children's programs are held. Yeah.
I know
Plenty of parking.
know that our new assembly person is looking to set office space up in, Cecilia Curry was looking to share a new office space with Mark McGuire in town as well, so they may also be open to some sharing.
Great.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, you've heard a bunch from me. As I briefly mentioned, I spent 10 years in Washington working for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on sustainable development policies. And I worked in the San Francisco Bay Area doing similar kind of thing, doing infrastructure strategic development for the Bay Area. And then I worked for 10 years in Napa County doing working for a consortium of the local governments there, also doing strategic planning. I just retired to Lake County. The amount of attention I've been associated with them for 35 years. And we moved up in June and the fire came in September. And so thought we were going to be retired, but the universe had other plans for us.
I'm Rachel Dillman. I work for Lake County Social Services. I'm local. I graduated Middletown High School and I was living Hidden Valley at the time of the fire. I've been asked to come here to share what resources social services have available. During the disaster, we were able to operationalize disaster CalFresh benefits, but that's only a 10-day window, which has long since passed. So what we currently have available, or what's available to the community at large, that's medical assistance, and it's no longer are you eligible, it's what you're eligible to. So as far as medical goes, everyone qualifies for something, so if you need medical coverage, come see us. If you're low income, it's free. If you're not, there may be a cost associated, but there are currently at least tax benefits, tax subsidies available to help make it affordable. We have food benefits. They're called CalFresh currently. Used to be known as food stamps. They no longer come on stamps. They're an EBT card. It looks a lot like a debit card. It's confidential. The income limit for a family of 4 is around $2,600. So if people are low income, encourage them to apply. It helps boost our economy as well as help get more food on the table. Benefits are on a sliding scale depending on how much you bring home. And then we also have cash assistance for families and also for single individuals, and that's a little lower income, but there's also a homeless benefit if they need it to help get them into housing, and also to temporarily house people who have children. I brought flyers on our See For Yourself website. There's also an app for your phone, See For Yourself, so all of these are in Spanish and English. People can also apply by giving us a call or coming in person to our offices, which are in Lower Lake on Anderson Ranch Parkway.
You guys have already heard from me. I'll just say quickly that represented here with Red Cross is our national, our division, our local, our regional folks. So the whole Red Cross team is here. We are committed to supporting the community through what we call our disaster cycle, whether it's response, preparedness, or recovery. I, of course, represent the recovery side, but Ann over there represents the full cycle. And Rory, hats off to you. As of 1 week, you sound like a veteran. you know, I've been at Red Cross almost 18 years, and I probably couldn't have talked through as well as you did in all of our programs. So well done there. But so we have the full cycle and full representation here.
My name is Indigo Perry, and I am the new disaster case manager for the SSCRA. I have a long background in nonprofit, most recently coming from COTS, Committee on the Shelterless in Petaluma, serving as the volunteer coordinator there for 6 years, managing anywhere from 1,400 to 1,700 volunteers per year as they help to serve the homeless community. I have lived here in Lake County off and on since 1989. I did also lose my home in the Valley Fire, lost everything. I was in Cobb over in Hobart, and I was very, very grateful to be invited back here to help restore the community where I want to live, so thank you.
Mick Hutchinson, private consultant. I always feel overwhelmed and outnumbered because the rest of you all represent some type of agency. My background, as quickly as possible, my family has owned property in Lower Lake for a number of years. Always promised the family when I got to the point where they could no longer take care of themselves, I would move here. That just happened to be when Valley Fire was running through the valley. The fire burned to the edge of the farm and was put out there at Murphy Springs Road, basically. But it traumatized my parents to the point where they've not been able to care for themselves since. My background is 2 major areas, commercial and real estate development for Xerox Corporation Global Operations, and then I'm also private school educator with a real interest in young people. In January, we did the HUD PIT survey for the homeless. We identified 1,000 individuals in Lake County who are homeless. 18% of those identified that they are homeless because of one of the fires. And over half of our homeless are school-age children from grades 5 through 12.
500.
500, what did I say, 5?
No, you said half. You didn't give it a number.
Okay,
I'm giving it a number
500,
because
yeah.
it's
500.
astonishing and appalling. 500 school children are homeless.
So Adventist Health and Redbud have retained my services to try to figure out how to connect as many of the dots as possible. Currently, there's a countywide survey going on by a national firm trying to look at what they're calling asset mapping across the county. So if anything you do in terms of people's services, they're trying to put that in a single source document. A huge undertaking. But what I am learning, because I'm trying to embrace the entire county as a private consultant, is just how many groups and how much energy is going on, whether it's housing one person or less than 5, or the types of community pieces. The latest piece of what I'm putting together is and I'm looking for organizations willing to do this, and that is to create a land trust. Adventist Health and Sutter Health are both willing to have a major role, but they don't want to own the real estate.
There is a Lake County Land Trust.
And this, so I would need to, well, this is
That's a conservation land trust, not a housing.
This is specifically for the, so at the Innovation
So you want
Summit
a land
May 3, that summit was focused specifically on the least capable in the county. Many of them have little or no income. They're oftentimes their own worst enemies. We have 50 individuals in this county who've been identified that consume about $12 million worth of health care annually. And if the 2 hospitals can just get their arms around those 50, we could save them about 75% of their outlay on an annual basis, or about $8 million.
I'd like to discuss that with you.
So we'll, I would.
Yeah.
We have several senior properties, plus we've done, in one of my many, my professional career is described as the chef who has many knives, but none of them sharp.
Well, he's got the knives.
We've done a number of stuff, things like that.
So we have identified, and thank you, because we have identified now 1 or 2 landowners, commercial landowners, who would consider allowing their properties to be used for a transitional housing land trust. And we're in conversations with the City of Clear Lake that is considering, while we go before a special hearing on June 20, to allow short-term transitional housing within the city limits. Right now, there's actually no zoned or process by which in Lake County you can house to zoning code the transitional housing and the homeless. And this is, that's where I spend the vast majority of my time. And this all comes from the fact that by the age of 15 I was homeless. And so it's driven from my experience.
Hello, my name is Sally Way, and for some reason people like to call me Miss Sally. Probably because I look tough, and I'm so honored to be sitting with our longtime partners, American Red Cross, and there's so many groups that with specialty. And it seems like we are doing nothing. But I would like to tell you a little bit about the population. I think we have some hidden talents that we can offer you, but for myself, I don't have much. But I consider myself as the soft power, as the glue to connect to all the talents here and in the community. So you probably see Jesus come here to host events. We cook very well. So if you have any events, you would like to have a group to cook for you, and then we cook very well. So that's our function. But during that meal, we're able to deliver some message we would like to deliver to the residents. Because we found out while we're talking to those cash receivers that the first week that we distribute to the clients, I think they all of a sudden the fire not only burned their house, they also burned their trust to the government, to American Red Cross, to a lot of people who want to help them. And because the obstacles of the process, we have all this paperwork, and they felt they just don't have any strength to go on. So our philosophy in the community is not really giving them materials, but to bring hope back to them. Our philosophy for charity is give hope. And here, I would like to bring also another concept, just called gratitude, between the residents to them. They probably, because under stress, they couldn't understand your effort to them. And using the food, we always bring that message to them. So hopefully we could support you for all your effort as just a no talent neighbors to our residents here. I live in Santa Rosa. That's the closest city office to this area. And we would like to build up a community volunteer system here as well. So I would like to talk to Roy. If we could have, you could spare a corner if you get a space.
Of course.
And then probably just a desk for us. So I can come here constantly, bring our program here. So we are thinking on June 24th. Oh, I want to thank two people. Is Melanie, bring here to meet with Mike in the back from Lions Club. They're very graciously allow us to use their facility in Cobb so we can host some events and dinner parties and lunch parties for the community to come. And we are hoping to bring in some of the very soothing classes to the Cobb Mountain. Residents can enroll for free, come here for flower arrangement, for tea etiquette classes, for some sign language classes, or for some kung fu classes and for meditation. It doesn't seem helpful, but I think that will bring them together to learn about all the special gifts you're giving to them. Thank you.
Well said, Ms. Way. And my name is Jeff Baumgartner, Executive Director with the American Red Cross. The geographies are all a little bit confusing and convoluted, but what matters is Lake County is one of the counties that I'm focused on. I sit in Santa Rosa, and the first thing that I want to say is thank you. It's inspiring to see the groups and the individuals that are making the efforts to come together and do what needs to be done. Melanie, I know that you've, over the last 15, 16 months, have faced a lot of challenge, but you've also made a lot of progress, and you've facilitated bringing together a lot of people. And to say that certainly doesn't mean that we're anywhere near the finish line. We've got a long way to go. It's very obvious to everybody in this room and outside of this room that there's still a lot of healing to be done and a lot of work to be done. And you know, the way that I think we all know that we need to approach that, to state the obvious, is really through collaboration, working together, leveraging each other's strengths, and continuing to have these types of forums and conversations where we can work together better. I'll make a comment about Mark Smith and the kind of Red Cross structure. We very fondly refer to the national headquarters as the 3,000-mile screwdriver. But my point is that we have and we want to have a strong local presence in Lake County, in all the communities that Red Cross serves. That's very important to us. Lake County does have a rich history of Red Cross presence. Some families, mostly, we're a 90–95% volunteer organization, so volunteers are really the heart, the soul, and the heartbeat of this organization. With one of the minor changes that we've taken to focus the disaster program manager position on specifically Lake and Mendocino County together, does concentrate more focus on this area with a dedicated staff person who is really just kind of the convener, the facilitator, the glue, the person to help bring things together. So that's Rory's role, and we're very, very fortunate to have him join us. So appreciate that.
You should.
Yeah, I'm looking at you. Rory comes with you know, high accolades and recommendations. But again, this is about partnership and about working together. I think sometimes a message will get thrown out there that Red Cross is doing, Red Cross served, Red Cross accomplished, and it's certainly, we need to look inside and really give credit where it's due to our partners, because We're just one entity in this big thing that's happening. So thank you to all of you. It's inspiring to see so many people come together to do this, and I've taken up my time on the soapbox. So I'm going to jump off and hand it over to Betsy, because I know she loves the soapbox.
Soapbox is my life. My name's Betsy Kahn. I'm a program producer for KPFZ Community Radio in Lake County. And during the Valley Fire, I was the public information officer. We were on the air 24 hours a day, 17 days in a row, providing the continuity for people who had been displaced, who had no other source of information. Sorry, Dale. But, you know, even
I wasn't
Facebook,
here, so.
I know. But,
13 months today.
Exactly, no, but
Make sure she's part of your planning.
yeah, between the Red Cross, the FEMA people, the churches, the hospitals, all of the public service agencies, we were nonstop, inundated with the immediate impacts of the fire. Since then, I've produced almost 84 weekly 2-hour broadcasts on this program, on this radio station, where we get calls from people who are in this category of need or who are trying to help their friends and neighbors. I've had the great pleasure of working with Seigler Springs Community Redevelopment Agency, the Cobb Area Council, Melanie Garrett, Mike Conroy. I've had lunch once with Sally and have never had enough time to say thank you so much for all you do. So we continue to provide this outreach, and we're very happy to do it. Anybody who would like to have this exposure on the radio or be out there to help us reach people, don't hesitate to give us a call.
So I'm Melanie. I've had 16 months experience with the Red Cross. I was brought in specifically to do this project. In the course of my background is I've had a very diverse background with emphasis in nonprofit development or nonprofit advancement for educational institutions. And I moved here 10 years ago and landed in Napa County and worked there in one industry, and then had the pleasure of becoming a small business development consultant, where I work primarily with small business owners with their business, developing, helping them with their business transitions or repairing problems or fixing problems. That seems to become my life now. I also had 2 projects in Napa that became very close to my heart and my spare time, which became almost like full-time spare time, is the Napa Valley Vine Trail project, which was to connect the valley from Vallejo all the way up to Calistoga. It's a project not only to create more of a pedestrian lifestyle, but it was also to help mitigate traffic congestion from the tourist industry that everyone in Lake County thinks they want. And then my other project that was very instrumental, I think, in compelling me to look into Lake County after this disaster was sitting on the the Napa County Gang and Youth Violence Commission, which had 26 members that sat on that particular board or commission, looking at the special needs that Napa County has also faced that are somewhat generational issues for an agricultural community, but being close to urban and suburbia and the influences that tend to filter into our communities that you don't necessarily want there. Napa County was also the state hospital for mental health issues. So back when a certain president, dismissed all the mental health, the hospital residents into the street, Napa County had a huge issue. And so they have spent probably the last 20 years trying to figure out how to address those issues and situations. So I was very fortunate and honored to sit with some of the key players who worked on those specific social issues, and they've done a fabulous job of beginning to not only mitigate it, but to create a intervention and prevention type of process. And that was just through the Napa County Gang and Youth Violence, that. So anyway, and then this is now my project. I have worked closely. I have to give kudos and appreciation to individuals like Betsy, who knows everything and more than what you really want to know in Lake County, but really helped get me up to speed so that I could figure out how to start bringing people together and how to navigate the personality challenges that exist here, as well as the social issues that exist here. And I would like to also introduce Mike Dunlap, who was the secretary and vice president of the Mountain Lions Club last year and was part of that initial, I guess, recovery operations in 2015. And he and I partnered very closely together to continue to bring things like this together up on Cobb. And between Betsy and Mike, there's no way I would have made the amount of progress that I've made in 16 months. And y'all are incredible people. I appreciate you being here today. Like Ann, I try not to think about the near future because everyone here has become so special. Just the friends, you've become my second family. I have no family in California except for one daughter, and everyone else is from the East Coast. And these people I've been working with are almost like my children. These people are quite capable of taking care of themselves, but turning loose of that and nurturing them along and looking for other resources to connect them with before we transition into other directions of housing and Roy and all. It's just been a pleasure to work with all of you. Those of you who came today, who responded, thank you. Those of you in the county offices, this is, thank you. Mike?
Well, it's a tough act to follow, so. But anyway, so I'm Mike Conroy. I'm a Senior Disaster Program Manager with Red Cross. And so I get the honor and the pleasure of covering not only Lake County in our disaster response and recovery programs, but also an additional 6 counties, or 7 counties, all the way up to Oregon. And so across that spectrum, I really get to see a lot of difference from Marin County to Del Norte County to Lake County. And it's just eye-opening. And the one thing that I've learned in, with my time here with Red Cross is really, as you guys were talking earlier, it's the power of the village, right? And so it's that partnership. And the partnership is like rolling up the sleeves and working together with that common goal. And that's the ingredient for success. And so I've had the honor of being up here helping to run the Kelseyville shelters during the fire, and then also in the immediate aftermath with starting up our recovery efforts up here as well too. So I got to lay the groundwork. Also, we had this gem come across us 16 months ago, and so we knew that she was the person we wanted to hire to help kind of carry this program forward. And just kudos to the amount of work, the energy, the time, the perseverance that she's put into it. And so I'm very proud of what she's done to date. So and tremendous. Absolutely. So. And I would also like to thank Lake County Public Health for the gift that we got from Roy coming over. There is that saying, right? One's loss is another's gain. But I think Roy is going to be huge for our organization, but other organizations up here too, especially as we want to build our presence out even bigger than what we have today. And so it was a no-brainer to bring him onto our team. And so I look forward to that continuing that partnership with the county entities, as well as also the community entities up here as well.
Well, it's gonna be awesome because now I have his phone number and when I have a call, then guess what? Sheltering's happening.
I do have to say that Rory, I guess technically you were on your second day because it was about 3 a.m. in the morning and he got caught out to a house fire. And so kudos to Rory for just jumping in and just, you know, he's all in, so it's great.
Thank you.
Look for big things out of you, buddy.
So I want to acknowledge Mike Dunlap's presence here today is because not only of the role that he's played, but he is actually transitioning out of the local Mountain Lions Club into probably the Clear Lake Lions, and I don't know that that's so, but that's his conversation to have. But I just want to say that as you are working on all your individual projects, that he is an incredible project manager for anything that you may need assistance with. He can organize, he can get containers here, he can move things about the county through Oakland. He is a valuable resource for anyone who needs a great team player. He is very direct, but he
Oh, I guess it's my turn.
Okay. Yeah, see, I opened the door for this.
I am here as the designated contrarian. My experience in Lake County started when I was 13. I lived in Olema in Marin County, and when you live in the country, everybody's a volunteer fireman. And so the first forest fire that I worked on, I worked in the fire camp on Cobb when I was 13. I had no idea I would be back in this situation. I'm a logistics guy. I come to disasters pretty well versed. The Loma Prieta earthquake, I stole 2 pieces of equipment from a local contractor and went to the collapsed freeway and helped responders access people in crushed cars. The Oakland fire, as a representative of the operating engineers, I was involved with the state in initiating a new compact between organizations, which has come to be known as Incident Command. I left the operators as the director of safety. When this fire happened, I went and volunteered to teach hazmat. They had hired a guy to teach a class of 60. We had 128 people show up for the class. As Melanie mentioned, you know, it's September. It always rains in September in Lake County. I went back to the Bay Area and said, I need containers. I need some on chassis. I need some set on the ground. I had a relationship at the port. The shipping company actually gave me 10 containers, which I still own and have in the county that I am giving to various people to use for various stuff. I want to say that I think Melanie's done a good job. I think the Red Cross has done an incredible job in the county. People, now I'm going to go back to some of my construction language, so please forgive me. People bitch about the Red Cross constantly. You know, the common bitch is, you know, they take the money and they take it someplace else and give it away, or they spend it all on administration. Well, the Red Cross, and Melanie in particular, have spent an incredible amount of time trying to give people money in this county. And I have seen more people throw up more roadblocks. I have not a lot of good to say about way too many people in this county. And it has to do with not in my backyard. It has to do with not people of that color. It has to do with people that speak that language. I have very, very short temper when it comes to stuff like that. Those of you that are going to remain and try and overcome some of this, you got a lot of work to do. As I said, I'm the contrarian. When I went to Cobb as what I referred to as the interloper. I said, I'm the carpetbagger. I'm here for a short period of time, and then I'm going to leave. I live on the lake. We had a flood this year. Some people noticed, most people didn't. You know, the lake was above flood stage for 28 days. Our property was flooded for 15 days. And I haven't even gotten a phone call from the county to say, well, we know you're in the floodplain. Did you lose anything? No, I didn't lose anything, you guys. I got 5 walnut trees came floating down the lake, you know, and ended up in my yard. So, you young man, forget about brick and mortar. This is earthquake country. You get something in a wood frame building.
Yes,
You, sir,
yes, sir.
from Washington, D.C., the screwdriver,
Yeah.
you might want to consider changing that screwdriver from a flat blade to a Phillips. You might want to advance to a torque drive at this point. And oh, by the way, if there's anything you can do for me in Washington, D.C., there's 535 people that I believe need to go. I am not partisan. Get rid of all of it.
Welcome to my world.
We have to live with this guy.
So, no, you don't.
Well
You don't.
said.
I live at the end of a fire road. Nobody gets to my place on the way to someplace else. So, what Melanie said is true. You know, I will. You know, if you need a resource, you can get in touch with me. You know, you can track me down. I don't hand out my number to everybody. But you're going to get my opinion along the way. So,
He is charitable, generous, and very organized.
but be careful what you ask.
How to get it done.
I thought there was going to be a but. Again, in that sense.
Well, there is a but. Wait, there's a but. How many of you own a home? Okay, now in California we have a state law that says if you have insurance on your home, they have to offer you earthquake insurance every year. And they call you up, right? Well,
No.
you don't live in a fixed house. You're different. You're different.
I don't count, I get it.
All right, so, you know, when they call me from San Diego and say, you want earthquake insurance? I go, I live 5 miles from the caldera of the volcano. And there's this long dead silence.
Well, we've gone a little over time, and what's going to happen this afternoon is we've been given the room for the rest of the day, but we didn't know that when we first started, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. SSCRA has a board visit to go and tour the area of our project this afternoon. You're welcome to join us, but it's at 1:30. And then, yeah.
1 p.m.
1 p.m. Oh, it's at 1, so we're boogieing. I might be able to stay, we'll have to see how we can divvy up the responsibilities. So please exchange business cards, let's all stay in touch with each other. I mean, I've heard things that I really want to just keep connecting with people, and I brought my business card to you. Thank you all for coming. Yes, I will have it signed and sheet.
So there were some questions that were included in the invitation and on the agenda. I've never actually been there. Yes, in our headquarters.